Hey guys, Brad Gilmore here. Want to give a big shout out to our title sponsor, Walker Texas Lawyer. If you or a loved one have been injured in an accident, whether that be a car, truck, motorcycle accident, or some kind of other issue, hit up Walker Texas Lawyer at 713-552-1117 or walkertexaslawyer.com.
Oh, Brad, what have you done now?
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Matthew McConaughey.
Brad Gilmore.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Jessica Alba and Lizzie Mathis. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Kevin Costner joins us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Chris Tucker is in the building. Chris Tucker, good morning to you.
Hey, Brad, and good morning to you. How are you?
George Lopez joins us right now. George, how are you doing, sir?
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The legendary frontman of AC/DC, Brian Johnson, joins us right now. Brian, how you doing?
Good morning, Brad. What lovely to talk. You me funny lad.
Megan Trainor.
Thank you so much, Brad. You're awesome.
Chloe Bailey joins us. I appreciate the time.
Appreciate you.
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat.
Brad Gilmore! Well, he's joining us back on the show. We've talked everything with this man. We talked about D.B. Cooper. We've talked about Nazi conspiracies. We've talked about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and his interactions with President H.W. Bush. And he joins us now to talk about his new book, out today, The JFK Conspiracy, The Secret Plot to Kill Kennedy and Why It Failed. Mr. Brad Meltzer joins us back on the show. Brad, how are you, sir?
Good to hear your voice, my friend.
You as well. Congratulations on the book. As always, I feel like that's an annual sentiment that I give you. Congratulations on the book, The JFK Conspiracy. Talk to me about the idea behind wanting to do this book. You've done conspiracy books before. Obviously, you're a historian. Everyone knows that. What was it that made you feel compelled to tell this tale?
You know, the president is about to die from 7 sticks of dynamite. And that's how the JFK conspiracy begins. It's a true nonfiction story about the first secret plot to kill JFK right after he was elected. And on that fateful day, the assassins packed his car with 7 sticks of dynamite. The killer follows JFK to Palm Beach, Florida, because he thinks Kennedy's security is the weakest there. And he's right. And he also knows that every Sunday, Kennedy leaves his house right before his 10 a.m. church service. So at 9:50, the killer's outside. Sure enough, JFK's right on time. All the assassin has to do is hit the gas and push the button on the trigger mechanism that he's built, and boom, will go the dynamite. And what saves his life, I won't tell you, but it is the craziest. I don't want to ruin the ending, but it's the craziest JFK story you've never heard. I also just ruined chapter 1 of the JFK conspiracy.
Well, and you say it's the craziest JFK story that we've never heard. Obviously, there's been so many books published, and rightfully they're so, about John F. Kennedy, his presidency, and what happened to him on that day in Dallas, 11/22/63. But why is this story, do you think, why has it remained obscure? And how did you come across it? How did it land on the Meltzer radar?
Yeah, so 2 things. So one, it is a national big, huge news story the day it happens, when they arrest the guy who tries to kill Kennedy that day. Except one thing happens. And you can't even make this stuff up. On that day, 2 planes collide over New York City, and everyone on board the planes dies except for one kid. This one child who everyone in the whole country becomes obsessed with. They want to know, is this sole survivor going to live, or is he going to die? And so on that day, the JFK story gets put to this, inside instead of the front page, becomes the inside story. The story about the plane crash becomes the biggest story, and the JFK assassination attempt becomes a footnote that nobody knows about until myself and my friend Josh Mensch go hunting for it. And we're like, wait a minute, how come we've never heard this story? And then we realize why. And we're like, we have to tell this story to people that are going to want to hear about the secret plot to kill Kennedy and the one that actually failed.
And this goes on, I mean, right after he was elected. I mean, he's president-elect for what, maybe 5 weeks by the time this happens, a little under 5 weeks before he's even inaugurated. And this is coming off what was a really divisive election. People who know about the 1960 election between him and Nixon know that also a big point of that election was, JFK being the first Catholic candidate for president, or first Catholic president. And I mean, that was a huge anti-Catholic sentiment at the time. And a lot of people think that is what caused a lot of the division and sort of the anti-Catholic sentiment of the time. I mean, do you feel like that helped shape this the political climate leading up to the plot that did not work, and then even the plot that did work?
Well, here's the thing is, when we look at this story, we always try to tell, why is this story important now? I mean, I know it's titillating for me to say, hey, we found a secret plot to kill JFK that you don't know, but why is it worth telling? And you got to look at the 1960 election. As you said, it's a completely divided election, as close as they've had in modern time. Whatever side you root for, whether you're on Nixon's side or Kennedy's side, whatever side you're on, you think the other side are complete, utter morons. You hate the other side. Does that sound familiar to you, my friend? Right?
A little
it's
bit.
Just a time, right? And that's why when you unleash that kind of venom and hatred into the country, you can't be surprised when someone gets activated. And what happens is they target Kennedy for being Catholic, for being different, for being an immigrant. They're literally like, this guy's not going to be loyal to us. He's not going to be loyal to America. He's going to be loyal to the Catholic Church. And I know it sounds a little crazy now, but back then, the difference between Protestant and Catholic, we think, oh my gosh, it's still a Catholic, it's still a church. And still back then, Catholicism was under attack. JFK, don't forget, was he was the second person to run for president. The presidency was a Catholic, but only the first to actually do well. And they were trying to saying he can't be loyal to it. He's going to be loyal to the Pope. He's never going to be loyal to America. And there was someone listening. And this guy who was listening, Richard Pavlik, is a former angry postal worker and is the guy who basically is like, yeah, this guy can't be president. We need to get him out of there. And he listens seriously. And to me, what I think is so fascinating, I won't ruin the ending of what happens and how they catch him, but it brings up these amazing parts about not just the JFK presidency, but about his family life and about Jackie and about Jackie Kennedy, who just is one of the most fascinating parts of this book. And anyone who reads it, when you read the parts about his affairs, when you read the parts about Jackie, you come home and you close that book and you say, I think very differently about JFK than I did when I started. There's lots of stuff you'll never have heard of before.
Well, I wanted to touch on Jackie Kennedy because, I mean, we remember Jackie Kennedy for when you kind of look back at her in the political landscape in the American public conscious. She's known for her grace, her fashion of the time, her composure under pressure, almost the quintessential first lady. When doing this book, what did you uncover about her that maybe showed a new side of her strength and influence on John F. Kennedy, or just in general in the family?
Jackie starts out as a reporter. She does interviews on the street, and she's so fascinating. We all know her because she's so beautiful and she's got so much class and she's got so much style, and that's what we know about Jackie Kennedy. But the truth is, it's a cliche. That's the cliche version of Jackie Kennedy. Mm-hmm. And when I was researching the book, I kept asking, where's the Camelot part come in? We all associate Camelot with JFK. I'm like, where's the Camelot part come? I started digging into it. And I didn't know this part, but Camelot doesn't come during the JFK presidency. He comes after he dies, after he gets shot in Dallas and his brains splatter all across his wife's pink dress. And Jackie Kennedy, after her husband dies, Life magazine wants an interview. Every paper in America wants an interview. She will not grant an interview to anyone. And eventually she says, you know what? I'm going to grant one interview to Life magazine. She's going to give them the exclusive. Reporter comes to her house late at night. She gives the reporter the interview, I think from like 8 to midnight. And she sits there and she tells the story to this reporter that night that when her husband, JFK, when his back was hurting him, when he was in the White House and in pain, there was one song she used to put on the record player, this one album that calmed him down. And she reads that lyric about this place called Camelot from the play Camelot. And Jackie Kennedy, as I said, she's a member of the press. She's hounded by the press. She's tortured by the press. She's vilified by the press, held up by the press. But make no mistake, Brad, she is absolutely a master of the press. She's the one who inserts the word Camelot into the lexicon. And now we all say that Camelot was the JFK time because she put it there very intentionally.
A lot of this, though, has to do with, some of what you talk about in the book and what we're having this conversation here is just how the media helps frame and shape narratives and how they can make a story the biggest thing that's going on, or, like you said, completely be forgotten by the next big story of the day. But what I wanted to talk about is in the book, you discuss the difference between two types of presidential assassins, or assassins in general. They're the Howlers and the Hunters. The Howlers are the ones who kind of say that they're going to call in the bomb threat. They're going to write the threatening letter. But the Hunters, in this case, like Richard Pavlik, they're the ones who actually go out and try to follow through on it. Or even the man who eventually did kill Kennedy, Lee Harvey Oswald, who, it's strange, Brad, that Kennedy there was an assassination attempt on him before that was unsuccessful, and even Lee Harvey Oswald had an assassination attempt of General Edwin Walker in Dallas before that was unsuccessful. It's interesting how those two things go about. But when it comes to Hunters, talk to me about Richard Pavlik and what do you think drove him to want to kill the president?
Yeah, I didn't make that up. That came from the Secret Service, gave that to me years ago when I was doing research about them. And what's so fascinating, as you said, the Howlers make all this noise. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to murder you. I hate the president. They do nothing. They're all talk. The Hunters are who you have to look out for. The Hunters say nothing. And if you look at the four, I should say, successful presidential assassins who have killed 4 presidents, every single one of them is a Hunter. They keep their mouth shut. And I won't ruin the end of the book, but Richard Pavlik is partially a Hunter, but there's a part of him that's a Howler. And that's why he gets caught, because he opens his big mouth. And when you see how he gets caught and why he gets caught, it'll make much more sense. But again, it's just this wild thing that even he can't plan for in that moment is what saves Kennedy's life. And, he fits that bill, except for that moment where he opens his mouth. And that's what undoes the entire plan. But, I think, again, when you look around, when you look at we obviously, President Trump's about to have his inauguration again. And I think, we've seen, a couple attacks on him already. And it's pretty incredible to watch. I mean, I think that it's not a coincidence that we're seeing these things again. And I hate to say it, but it's a scary time. It's a scary time to be a politician. And I fear that it's not the last time we're going to hear about people who are trying to take a shot.
Brad Meltzer joins us. Brad Meltzer and Josh Minch, the JFK Conspiracy, the secret plot to kill Kennedy and why it failed, available now. Before I get you out of here, Brad, and good, and always a pleasure to talk to you. I wanted to ask you about the president who we just lost recently, President Carter, at 100 years of age. I know you've had interactions with presidents over the years. I don't know if you ever met Jimmy Carter. If so, I'd love to hear your interaction with him. And if not, though, what do you think his lasting legacy is as a president?
I think President Carter is one of the few I have not met. I've met everyone from Bush Sr., of course, passed away. Everyone forward. I've met everybody and I never met Carter. And I regret that. I really wish I would have. But I think what his legacy is, I don't think is about his presidency. I think what President Carter has proven is that it's not the presidency that is your legacy. And it's a lesson we all need and we all should know, right? You have your family, you have your friends, you have your job. We all think that's going to be our legacy. But we forget that there's legacy on your community and there's legacies that you leave on complete and utter strangers or people that you've helped in your life who have passed on that kindness to other people. You're never going to know those people's names. Even when you walk a 5K in the morning, or you donate some money to a friend's breast cancer fundraiser, you're never going to know who you're helping. They're never going to know your name. But you're forever tied together, forever part of each other's legacy. And I think, Jimmy Carter has proven that there's something bigger than the White House. And it's what he did with Habitat of Humanity. It's what he did as teaching Sunday school. And man, that's an impressive legacy to me.
I couldn't agree with you more. Again, Brad Meltzer, the JFK Conspiracy, the secret plot to kill Kennedy and why it failed, available now. Brad, always a pleasure speaking with you, sir.
Always, my friend. Thank you so much.